In this section of the course, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. Now, this is a course on physics for future leaders, not a course on computer science. So why are we doing this? Well, many people think that this is the most important change in human history, and it's probably coming a lot faster than most people think. Certainly people in the field wander around looking amazed at how many people just don't think this is the most important thing in the world. They worry about wars in the Middle East or politics in America, and don't worry about AI, which is far more important than all of those things. It is certainly credible that we'll have artificial general intelligence, and AI, which across the whole range of performance is equivalent to a human, within a year or two, and artificial supreme intelligence, something that's better than any human, before 2030. I mean, I'm not saying that will happen. I'm saying that most people in the field say there's a better than 50% chance of it happening. And some people think this could usher in a golden age for humanity. Wonderful change, makes everything much better. Other people think it could be a complete disaster on so many levels that might actually lead to the extinction of humanity by 2035. So that's a pretty big range of uncertainty of different options. It will most certainly, however, revolutionize science, physics, and how physics interacts with the world, so it is definitely something that's within the purview of this course. You need to know about AI. So what we're going to do, talk about what's driving current AI progress and what this means for the next few years. We'll then talk about the positive case, how AI might be good, and the negative case, how it might be a complete disaster. We'll talk about how people and societies can adapt to AI. Then at the end we'll get on to the more practical stuff. I mean, what you as a student, how you should be using AI effectively, and there's specific advice on prompting, how to prompt the current generations of AI and the current models. Now, if you know all this already, feel free to skip over, but I find that very few people actually do know all of this stuff. So why is AI, I mean, AI has been around since the 1960s, if not earlier, but why has it taken off now? Well, basically, about 10 years ago, there was a confluence of three different factors. First of all was graphics processing units. These are silicon chips, where instead of only a small part doing the calculations and the rest supporting it, almost the entire chip does calculations, but does large numbers of parallel, low precision calculations. These were invented to allow people to play computer games, to do the graphics, the image shading. But it turned out they allowed vast numbers of low precision maths operations to be done in parallel at incredible rates. So that was the first thing. We had Moore's law over the last 60, 70 years, plus graphics processing units gave us the ability to do calculations the human race has never had before. The second was the availability of massive amounts of data. The current large language models require incredible amounts of data to learn anything. They're typically trained on every book ever written, every YouTube video. The third thing was a new algorithm, invented in a famous paper at Google called the transformer algorithm. So when we combine these very powerful chips, huge amounts of data, and this new algorithm, suddenly we had a breakthrough in artificial intelligence. So these large language models, there are kind of three steps in building them. First is you train an artificial neural network using the transformer algorithm on shitloads of data, huge amounts of data, like the entire internet. This will give you a GPT, a language model. What it's basically doing is just predicting the next word. So if you say, my name is, it can predict what the next word is going to be. And it does this incredibly well. But that surprises people. This is how AI is built on, but that's all there was to it. Then step two is reinforcement learning, which is where you take this GPT and you ask it questions and look at the answers and see if the answers are actually useful and sensible. And then if it's giving you a good answer, you reinforce the weights that led to that. If it's giving a bad answer, you suppress them. And so you train, this is reinforce training your model so it actually can have a useful chat and tell you useful things. You might train it, for example, if you give it a maths problem, it doesn't give the correct answer. It doesn't give grammatically correct English. It doesn't give you English that people actually like. So this is what goes from GPT to GPT, and this is the chatbots which currently dominate consumer use of AI. The third step isn't always used. A lot of AI is just you get the ChatGPT and it gives you the immediate answer. But some models are now increasingly, if you ask it something, it'll think about it for a while. DeepSeek popularized this, but there are deep thinking models or deep research models. In this case, when you give an answer, the GPT will actually spend several goes thinking about it, maybe going and consulting the internet. You might spawn several models that argue with each other and decide what answer they're going to give you. So this is actually using more computer power when you ask the question rather than more computer power back when it was trained. Current limitations. I mean, the current AI models are scarily good, but they have some pretty severe limitations. Firstly, they need far more training data than humans do. I mean, I've been teaching my teenage children to drive, and after 100 hours of practice, they are usually capable of passing a test and getting a driver's license. Whereas when they try and use AI to train computers to drive, hundreds of thousands of hours minimum are required, and they're still not as good as a human driver. AIs also typically lack context. They might know the specific thing you've asked them, but you couldn't, for example, have an AI co-worker because it wouldn't know how the company works or the administrative systems. So they're good for small problems that don't rely on having a huge amount of contextual knowledge, but they can't yet replace humans who have a much wider range of knowledge. And they have limited ability to interact with the real world. People are working on physical AI robots, but they're still in their infancy. They can do some fairly impressive demos, and they might be coming along fast. But at the moment they can't actually, for example, do experiments in the labs. It's not generally considered safe to let the AI go loose on the internet and try and do whatever it wants, because it'll do some pretty stupid and dangerous things. Now, I'm not an AI researcher myself. What I'm going to talk about here is based on me spending many months of my life reading, listening to podcasts, talking to people in the field. If you prefer, you can skip what I'm telling you and just go and read the original sources. I've provided a list of sources. There are a bunch of extremely impressive blog articles. You may believe them, you may disagree with them, but everyone in the field is talking about them, and other sources like that. So feel free to not listen to this and actually go and read the original sources. That's what I did. What I've tried to do is boil it down, summarize it to the key points, but please, if you feel that way inclined, go and read the originals. And also, for the first time in my career as a physics and astronomy lecturer, I have to give a trigger warning. I'll be talking about many of the ways in which AIs could have disastrous consequences for the world, including killing all humans in the next 10 years. I mean, I'm not saying that's likely, but many people in the field would say there's at least a 10% chance that AI kills all of us before 2030 or 2035. People may find this terrifying or depressing. Personally, I think if you don't find AI progress terrifying, you're not paying attention. But this is a mental health warning. This is scary, possibly terrifying stuff, and you should make sure you get whatever help you need to cope with it. However, I think it is important stuff that we need to be talking about.